So part of the reason that HELOCs and refinances, specifically cash out refinances, are so popular right now is because people are strapped for cash and people are drowning in credit card debt. Strapped for cash is one thing. Drowning in credit card debt specifically, you carry interest that's closer to like 20%, 17%, 23%. I keep on getting letters in the mail offering me stuff for like 24%. I'm good. But when you have a HELOC, technically it is an adjustable rate mortgage. So, but it's actually a line of credit. So it will run parallel with the par rates, but you're not going to be anywhere near 17, 18, 23%, right? It is a revolving, it's a revolving line of credit. So it's more similar to like a credit card based on your house. You can pay it off as you go, in which case it doesn't accrue any, interest. Now, if you're not paying it off as you go, and this is kind of the same concept as people accruing credit card debt. If you're not paying off as you go, when you sell your house, it's technically a second lien, so that comes off of the proceeds of the sale of your house. So it's a great option right now for people that want to consolidate their credit card debt, or really just debt in general. Cash out refi is a little bit different. You're actually getting a lump sum of money that you're paying interest on, and then you use that money for whatever you like. So if you want to do something like renovate your house, or you had a very specific bill that you needed paid that you had, like, okay, every other aspect of my life is fine, I don't need to consolidate any other debt, we'll use a cash out refi just to get that lump sum of money just to pay that off.
So like sending your kids to college, you can use it for that?
You could use a cash out. I would say a cash out refi would probably be better than a HELOC for sending your kid to college. You also have less interest rate on a cash out refi than you do a HELOC. So the HELOC isn't exactly with the par rate. It's usually somewhere between a half point and 2 points higher than the par rate, but it runs with how the rate fluctuates. So
if I had a seller who needed to make some updates on their home, even if they weren't selling, someone who just wants to make updates on their home, like which option do you think would be better for them?
Cash out refinance. I would say get a quote from whoever's going to be doing your work, and then maybe add, I don't know, 20%. I mean, when we're financing work, we add a 15% buffer. So I would say a 20% buffer will probably keep you safe. And part of what you want to do is make sure you're shooting a little bit higher than what you think, because God forbid you got to do another one, and then you're paying closing costs on 2 deals instead of 1.
Yeah.
Right.
Or if the appraisal doesn't come back quite as high as you want.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So even more specifically with a HELOC, you want to shoot significantly higher than what you think you're going to need, because you're only paying interest on what you use. Once you do a cash out refinance, you're paying interest on that amount that you've used. So maybe on a cash out refi, you shoot 20% higher. On a HELOC, you like double it or something. It's like gathering firewood, right? As soon as you think you have enough, get twice as much.
So on the HELOC, you said that it's a revolving line of credit. So if I take out $50,000 and only end up using like 30, and then I pay that off, I still have the $50,000 that I could use.
Okay. Yeah, and if you pay that 30 off, you have 50. You're back to 50 again.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean that's lots of people use HELOCs for debt consolidation. I was talking to a friend of mine asking just like what he thought about HELOCs. He said, "Oh yeah, I use it for debt consolidation." I said, "Well, there you go. I already have one, and I'm using it for debt consolidation."
Is there a drawdown period, or like a period of time where that money is available to you, or is it like once you use it?
As soon as you close, it's available to you. And actually, you can use the proceeds of the HELOC or the cash out refi to fund that deal. You'll have closing costs. Just like any other real estate deal, you're going to have closing costs. You'll have it in this instance too. The nice thing is, what you're trying to do is pull money out of your house, right? You can use that money to make sure to fund the deal.
And then are there requirements? So I know the process. If you're getting a brand new loan to purchase a home, is there requirements in order to get a HELOC or a cash out refi?
Most banks will not even consider a HELOC unless you're above 700. as far as the credit score goes. It depends on the appraisal as well. Realistically, it's like, let's just look at the numbers and get things going and make sure there's not going to be anything in the way. I think I can go down as low as 640 on a HELOC, but you also have higher interest rates when you are not in that usual area.
What about the cash out refi? Is that different?
Cash out refi you should be able to do a little bit easier than a HELOC. They're just easier to accomplish in general. So yeah, similar. Definitely 640 would be fine on a cash out refi. HELOCs get a little persnickety. Those are a bit harder to do. I really recommend if you want to do this, and if it's going to be something to try to save you from going into like defaulting on other debt, do it before you default on other debt, and it affects your credit score. Part of the deal here is just get ahead of the problem, you know. So
Any other qualifications like job history or?
you have to, usual job history. You have to have 2 years of employment, minimal gaps. Now, that also is, if there's like a month or two in there, maybe you can provide a letter of explanation. It all has to do with circumstance
Okay.
more than anything else.
So with that, I just immediately thought, what about teachers who are off all summer?
Oh yeah, you're fine there. Teachers who are off all summer, they're still employed technically year round, but
Okay.
they're, just because they're not.
Some teachers get paid all year round, but some only get paid during the school year, and then that way they can draw unemployment during the 1 month of the summer, usually.
I don't want to overpromise on this. I'll have to look into that. I assume though that's not too uncommon.
As long as they're still contracted,
Right.
maybe, because then they
As
would
long as
still
they're
be
contracted,
still be employed.
Yeah, I bet that'd be the case.
Yeah, I've been wanting to do either a HELOC or a cash out refi for a while,
Yeah.
but with real estate being so variable,
Alright.
I'm like, I know I don't
It was
qualify.
hard for mine. I did a HELOC during COVID on my house, and it took about 3 months, just because in real estate, again, you could have 1 month where you sell 5 houses
Right.
and 1 month where you sell none.
Right.
And so I had one of those, even though it was a really strong market, and they were like, well, what did you do this month? Well, thankfully I made lots of money the month before.
Yeah.
But it was nice because it did, at that time the interest rate was 3% on the HELOC, and it's gone up to I think 9.5% or 10% now, but that still is way better than the 18 to 22% that I was paying on the credit cards that I paid off. So
3% on a HELOC is like a dream right now.
well, it was very difficult to go through emotionally as the rates went up, because here I pay off all of this other, it was credit card debt, that's exactly what it was, and so I had this monthly payment on my HELOC that was like $300, and most of it was principal because of how low the interest rate is. Now my HELOC payment 3.5 years later is something like $700. It's almost as much as my house payment.
Yeah.
It's not quite as much, but it's almost as much as my house payment. And I'm still paying off a good portion of principal every month.
Right.
But it's just like this double. That's what I wanted to avoid. But it was a great vehicle to do what I needed it to do at the time. And I'm still, even now, saving a lot of money over what I would have been if I just kept making the credit card payments.
Yeah. And then the payments, they run concurrently with your mortgage payment. So even if you have a HELOC or a cash out refi, you pay your mortgage separate, and then you pay your payment for your additional loan, right?
Well, for a HELOC you would, but a cash out refi would be a whole new mortgage, right? Yeah.
It's a second mortgage. I mean, I'm sure you can have them be paid at the same time if you'd like.
So I have two. I have my mortgage payment, and then I have my HELOC payment. But if I do the cash out refi, it all.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. On a cash out refi, it wipes out the initial mortgage.
Yeah.
And then you have
so you have a new
so there is
mortgage payment.
Yes. Yes, you have a new mortgage payment.
Which the hard thing right now for people doing cash out refis is just that the rates are higher.
Yeah.
Right.
And so if they bought 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, and they got a 4 or 3 or 2% interest rate, man, getting a 7 is hard. However, that still is way better than continuing to pay that 22% or continue to try and struggle with medical debt or things like that. Or
Absolutely.
if you need to redo your kitchen or bathroom, maybe not want at the moment, honestly, but if you need to update some things or get a new roof or whatever, you can finance those a lot of times through those companies or through Home Depot or whatever, but you're gonna get that higher, much higher rate, 17, 20, 22%. Or you do a cash out refi and you take that equity out and go and pay that off completely, and then you just have one mortgage payment.
Yeah.
So there are definitely benefits to it.
Well, and the other thing is, let's assume you bought in 2018, 2019, 2020, right? Let's say you bought it 5 years earlier, 10 years earlier, and you had a more normal interest rate. Let's say it was around that 6 or 7%, right? If you had your house at that time and you let 2018, 2019, 2020 pass without refinancing into that 3 or 4% interest rate, there's not a whole lot of people that didn't do that.
Right.
So if you bought your house even before those prime years, you probably now have that 3 or 4% interest rate.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Mm-hmm. While we're on this topic though, talk a little bit about these products or these options as investment vehicles too. Because that's a really good way to use the equity, if you don't have tons of other debt.
Sure.
To use the equity in your home to maybe help you invest in an income producing property as well.
Yeah, so are you talking about buying like an investment property? Or are you talking about reinvesting some of that money into your own property?
Well,
Because
it could be either.
So-
Depends on what you got.
So when we're talking about renovating, one of the things that I think people do is use a cash out refi to increase the value of their home.
Mhm.
Dumping money into things that increase the value of your home, like kitchens, bathrooms. Don't go put a pool out back because that's more for your own, and the return on your investment is less. You don't, you might have tossed $50,000 into your backyard, but it's not going to raise the value of your property.
Yeah.
Real quick story on that. So there was just an article on several of our agent Facebook groups. This guy in Florida,
Mhm.
okay, spent $100,000 on an in-ground, fully enclosed, climate-controlled pool. Thought it would increase the value of his property,
Mhm.
and he put a hot tub in and a pool. So when he went to sell it, the real estate agent, he went through 3 different real estate agents. They all told him the same thing. Adds maybe $5,000-6,000. So he was mad. So he decided, I'm going to have it appraised before I list it. I'll just list it myself. 5 appraisers later, he's online saying real estate professionals and appraisers don't know what they're doing. I have all the receipts for this $100,000 work that I did, and people are explaining to him, but that doesn't add value to your home. It adds value to you, enjoyment value,
Sure.
but it does not add value to the home because it's a liability, it's an insurance issue, it's a maintenance issue, all this stuff, and he just could not understand that. So what you're saying, if you're going to do this and do it with your house, do things that add value.
Yes. Yeah. Not make it more fun for you.
Yeah.
Right.
Especially in Ohio, it's not going to add any value for the 2 months that you can use your pool.
No.
So.
No, I hear you. But regardless, bathrooms. If you can put on another bathroom,
Mm-hmm.
that's
That definitely
huge,
adds
that
value.
definitely adds value. If you put on another bedroom, adds value. Redoing the kitchen. I mean, you two know this better than anybody else.
As long as it's a real bedroom.
Sure.
Creating a bedroom in the basement where there's no egress, not going to help you a whole lot.
No.
What about windows? Do windows add value?
I would so I would put windows in the same category as like a roof, right? Brand new windows and brand new roof, brand new furnace, those kind of ticket items.
Mm-hmm.
You know, at least it's not going to cost the buyer money down the line. So
Right.
you might not have the same. You might not increase the value the same way, but it'll definitely make it an easier sell, right?
For sure.
I mean, when you're going through and doing a CRM on properties, I would assume that check it out. There's a reason we describe houses as 2 bedroom, 2 bath, 3 bedroom, 2 bath, 1 bedroom, 1 bath. Like those 2 first big descriptors, I would think would be your biggest ticket items, right? Now, when you're buying a house and you say, oh, they just put a new roof on 2 years ago. I mean, I remember I bought my house and they said there's a brand new roof on it. I said, well, great. That means that's not going to be something I have to worry
There's a lot
about.
of perceived value in that because you know, as a
Right.
buyer, you're not going to have a future expense
Right.
that's going to be really big. But the bedroom situation. So I had a house in Newport that was an old, 18s shotgun house,
Mhm.
right? small house. They completely renovated it, and they actually created a second bedroom. Now it was small, but it was big enough to be a second bedroom, had a closet, had a door. And that house literally went from about a $60,000 value to we sold it for $145,000. Now they updated it, but the deal was, well, what if we just leave it one big bedroom? $70,000 even with the renovation, because it was small, there was no off-street parking, there was no garage, all this stuff. But just adding that second bedroom increased the potential, it increased the amount of buyers that could buy it just exponentially, and we were able to sell it for so much more. So absolutely adding value. Now what about the other kind of investing for income producing properties?
Sure. So one thing with income producing properties is that you get significantly better down payment and significantly better rates if they're owner occupied. Mm-hmm. So if you don't want to move out of your house now and move into a property, I certainly don't blame you. I wouldn't want to do that either. You can make a lot more money doing it that way. But one thing you can do is do a cash out refi. I wouldn't say do a HELOC on this. This is one of those great things we were talking about earlier where you have a total amount that you would need to get this deal done, right? You know you're going to pay a specific amount of interest, but that comes out of the mortgage payment. Mm-hmm. You need a significantly larger down payment. Usually, if it's non-owner occupied, we're talking about 20%. Mm-hmm. So let's say you wanted to go buy a quadplex for $300,000. You know that you're going to need at least just $60 just in the down payment. You're probably going to need another $10 in closing costs. So you can say, okay, I want to take $80,000 out of my house so that I can go buy this property, buy this quadplex for $300,000. The rental income I'm going to get off of it is going to take care of the mortgage payment, but you still need that chunk up front. Right. So, I mean, you can certainly borrow against your house to get into one of those opportunities. Mm-hmm. What people do, I think, a lot, especially people that want to get involved in buying duplexes and quadplexes. Their first property is a duplex. They go live there for 12 months. That's what you need to live there for if you're going to run an FHA. 3.5% down, FHA loan, get that taken care of, and then borrow against that to buy your next one. Then you borrow against that to buy your next one. And the whole thing just becomes this. Okay, now do it over again 4 times, and now you have 5 properties. Mm-hmm. And then you got
the downside of that is you got to move every year.
You do.
But you make money.
Right.
So.
The upside of that is in 5 years, you've got 5 properties with multiple streams of income coming in.
Right.
And if you're taking care of them and doing them the right way, that's probably more than equivalent to what a salary job would be.
I would totally agree. And the holding value is what you really get the value of on these properties. It's that you're paying off the mortgage and the property's increasing in value. Mm-hmm. So that difference, the difference in between what you owe on a property and what it's worth is really where your money's at, right? So what it's worth is going up and what you owe on it is going down. And so that difference is just getting bigger and bigger.
So I just had a friend in my office tell me that she has a client who owns several properties already, and she wants to do this method of, buying and flipping and house hacking, I guess. And the lender told her that she has too many properties and they wouldn't be able to give her an FHA loan in her name.
How many does she have?
I think it was like 2 or 3.
Okay.
But
well,
none, I asked if any of them were FHA because I know you can only have one FHA mortgage out. And she said they were conventional and one she owned outright. So I was just confused on that because that wasn't what I had known it to be.
Before I call this lender a liar, I would love to look at the numbers and just see what reason he had or she had for.
Or maybe they have an overlay where they don't do over a certain number.
I do know this. If you have a dozen, see, that's what I was really looking for. I was hoping you were going to say a dozen.
No.
If you have a dozen, then Fannie, Freddie, FHA, they won't touch it. If you have a dozen, your best bet at that point is the debt service credit ratio, where you're not really putting any of your paperwork into it at all. It's purely based off of.
Oh, that's the DSCR loan.
Yeah. Does the property, is the debt service credit ratio, which is basically, are your monthly payments, the monthly cash flow on it, going to be larger than the principal income tax and insurance payment? And if that's the case, then you've got a usually they want to see it over 100%. So if like let's say you're and these are not accurate numbers at all. Let's say your payment on it is $1,000 a month, but it's only going to bring in $900 a month. Then your debt service credit ratio is 90%. If your payment on it is $1,000 a month, again, I'm using unrealistic numbers just so we can do quick math.
Right.
If your payment on it is $1,000 a month, again, that's not just your principal and interest. That's taxes. That's insurance. That's the whole shebang. Is $1,000 a month, and it's going to bring in 120, or it's going to bring in $1,200 a month. Then you're at 120%. So they want to see it over. They want to at least see that it's going to bring in money, because then the lender knows that you're taken care of.
Sure.
Now, one thing that a lot of the times has to happen is you have to apply occupancy ratios. Usually that's 75%. So 75% of the time it's going to be occupied. That's what the bed is. So it's going to bring in it's going to bring in $1,200 a month. You have to multiply that by 75% in comparison to what that payment is. So it's a tough thing.
It can get complicated.
It can get complicated. Yeah, but that's why people need to talk to us.
Talk to you. You're not talking to me about the numbers. I'm just gonna be like, talk to him.
Deal. I will take it, and if I don't know it, then I will shoot it up the corporate ladder. How's that?
So how do they reach you if they want to talk to you?
513-907-2530.
And in Ohio?
If you want to reach out to me and have me refer you to Joe, it's 513-788-1219.